Good morning, good morning, good morning. I apologize for not being with you yesterday. Um, had to help somebody in the morning, so didn't work out that I was able to pop on here to stream. And sorry about that because I set a goal when first starting this that I would do this every day, potentially for I had set a kind of a 5 year time frame aspect on it, and I hope to continue that. So just kind of going through the morning routine here, drinking my cup of coffee, and just wanting to wish you well and hope that you have a great morning as well. So pull up these charts for you to look at. Hopefully they look great. IMPP is my single biggest stock, single day, single biggest day gain of my life. And I even tweeted this stock out because it was just setting up to be so damn bullish that it was crazy. Keeping you up to date with news from around. Let's see. So I think I'm gonna put this up here in the top left for you for now. And I'll show you the tweet too. So I tweeted this out at it was setting up. So they had an offering. So they had a 60 million stock offering at $1.60. And so this thing was pinned at $1.60 or below all week. And oil was on the way back up this week, right? So pinned, big day. Pinned at, and I even tweeted it out too. This thing was pinned at under $1.60. And the offering closed at about 2 o'clock. So my tweet about the offer closing was at 2:06 p.m. And so you had about 45 minutes from 2 o'clock right here, just pinned under $1.60, to almost at 3 o'clock, but right here at about 2:45. And it took 30 minutes because this thing was just trading funky all day. Just for every candle up, it had a matching candle down, just being diluted the whole way. But I knew, knowing if a multi-million-dollar investment company is purchasing up millions of dollars of these shares at $1.60, and I'm at buying these things at $1.55, then it had to break. And sure enough, this thing was $1.50, $1.60, and then boom. I mean, it's $2.12 right now. So, and I expect. So let's just check the futures here, and then we'll tune in here in a second. So, Brent crude 121. That's crazy high. I mean, we did hit the first week of the invasion. We hit this 130 area, but they're already saying oil, it might be going to $1.50 a barrel. So we might be on a slow melt up here on oil. So what IMPP does is they ship oil and natural gas. So hopefully with that 60 mil they just got, they can buy some more ships. Because, natural gas, it's actually gone up a tiny bit from yesterday. And this is really about as high as natural gas has been in a long time. Even at the start of the invasion, natural gas didn't get up this high. So energy prices are through the roof here. Let's check wheat. This is not the most comfiest chair. Not the most comfiest chair. So I don't know if wheat's going to pop back up. I got April 14th calls on wheat. And I cut bait with a lot of them. I'm still holding one. And I am in some DD puts that I think there was some negative China news yesterday. So we could see how the Chinese tickers do today. But I mean, I'm not really investing in Chinese names, but to each their own. So this is the E-mini futures, the S&P futures is kind of falling off of its highs. So I'm really, this morning and every morning I'm watching the futures. I'm seeing, hey, is S&P stock market NASDAQ futures up, and is these oil futures down? And so far this morning it seems the NASDAQ futures and S&P futures are lower, and see Brent crude is even hitting 122 here. So it's continuing to climb. I mean, could we see Brent crude push back towards 125, 130 maybe? And I think that is going to help some of these oil stocks to an extent. Now we've had some really interesting moves this week, and this week has been really low volume. So take a second to tune in. If anybody's in here, just take a second to tune in. Take a deep breath. Think about whatever it is you're thinking about, and then let it go. Think about nothing. And just let these thoughts come and go for a second. If you want, you can do 10 breaths in and out, holding the final exhale out, and then folding the final exhale, the following exhale in. I don't know where my damn notebook is. Be right back, guys. I gotta find my notebook. All right, so yesterday we had a normalization of the yield curve. You saw the 2-year, the 5-year, and the 10-year all fall down a little bit. So that means when those 2 to 5-year yields are falling down, that's bringing down the short end of the yield curve, and that's making the price of those bonds in that direction go up. And we've already seen this morning that move reverse. So we've seen this morning the 2s and the 10s up a little bit higher, flattening the yield curve back out. What's weird is yield. What's weird is with the yield curve going flat to inverted today. Now the yield curve going inverted, I believe they based that on the 2s and the 10s. It's been an accurate predictor of recession within 16 months following the yield curve going inverted. And it's also gone inverted and we haven't entered a recession. But for the most part, I believe from what I've seen, every time we've entered a recession 16 to 18 months earlier, the yield curve did go inverted. So just something to be aware of. We saw it kind of chill out yesterday, and now it's kind of ticking back up this morning as far as the 2 and the 10 yield curve go. Um, which is to be expected. I mean, because especially with the bond fire sale we've been having, bond price yields going up, bond prices going low, the flight to safety had to take back there. So now the interesting correlation that I noticed was yesterday when the bond yields started going down, right? So people start bidding up the price of bond, regardless how it works. I'm not 100% sure. I just know that if bond yields are going down, the prices are going up. So yesterday, as tech was falling, so were bond yields, which meant the price was going up. So in the week before, when we had bond yields going up, meaning prices going down, we had the price of big tech stocks shooting up. So we did see an inverse correlation between bond prices and some of your bigger names on the NASDAQ, which makes sense, right? Because people, as things are getting crazy, bond sales happen and people are selling bonds and they're either getting into those short-term bonds or they're selling those bonds and they're getting into big tech like Apple, Tesla. Now, we saw the opposite yesterday where, people with millions and billions of dollars, it might have been pulling some of this money from big tech and putting them into the 2 and 10-year bonds. Now, we've seen this move reverse again today. So I'm not really sure how that's going to affect the stock price today. One thing we have seen this week is super low volume. So Thursday and Friday of last week. So last week with those crazy moves, we had massive volume. We had volume that we haven't seen in this market in a long time. And when we have that kind of volume, there's only a handful of companies that can move the market like that. It's so when you've got billions of dollars now, because every day Webull shows me the overall inflow outflow of the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq. So it's something I often just check to see how healthy the market is by trying to get an assessment on how much money is either coming into the market or leaving the market. And Thursday it was crazy inflow, like $5 to $6 billion pumped into the market. And Friday was even crazier. It was like $10 to $11 billion inflow. Now, this week we've seen nothing of the sort as far as volume goes. Yesterday we had $138 million of inflow. I believe that was on the New York Stock Exchange. And we had about $1 to $2 billion of outflow on the NASDAQ. So overall, just not as much money pumping into the system as we had last week. So I'm being careful here. We hit right back at the top of the range, really, from before the invasion, but from even before that, where we had this SPY. So what did the SPY hit yesterday? The SPY hit 450 yesterday. And so SPY gets right up to 450. And the last time we were close to 450, got to go back a long way. That's wild. So the last time we were pushing up to 450, pushing those levels. Now, we came close a couple times, but again, I'm still going. So that's not even 450. That's pre-market. But you see where I'm getting to is that we really hadn't even hit, we come up close to the top of this range. Even beginning of February, I mean, we're close to the top of that 450 range. And, if you go all the way back to January, you know, we're up to 475. So could the SPY and some of these tech names go back up another, 10-15% possibly? To me, the market conditions have to change. Yes, we got a rate point hike. We just saw the medium home sales go above $500,000 in the United States at the same time that the amount of sales has fallen off a little bit. So let's continue to monitor this situation to see if we get kind of a decoupling, kind of a capitulation point in these markets. So I don't know. I don't know if these market makers were pumping $1 billion into the system so that they can rug pull us. But I mean, in the move on Apple this week makes sense, right? So Apple's had some good news this week where they talked about Porsche, being their Apple car manufacturer. They also had the news yesterday of being able to incorporate your cell phone, your identification, your ID into your cell phone Apple Wallet. So Apple had good news. Tesla had good news as well, and those have really been your two best performers of the week, Apple and Tesla. I believe Tesla rolled out their first vehicle from their Giga Berlin factory. And Tesla actually benefits from the rising oil price, right? Because oil and gas is going up. My fuel that I just got here in South Carolina, Charleston, which is normally God, we had might have had 329s during the summer. I know we were below 340s forever, and now we're pushing $4. Gas was $3.99 yesterday. Tesla benefits from this, right? Because you don't worry about now. What you do worry about is the rising energy cost, and Tesla has a problem for that as well. They've got their in-home battery pack. I'd like to see Tesla come out. They may already have a solar panel. I don't know if they currently use that. Currently using solar panels in residential, but I know that you can get their Tesla battery pack installed on your home. So just something interesting about Tesla. I'm kind of interested in solar. It's just I see the push coming. I see the technology increasing, and it makes sense. My energy bill at my little townhome duplex that I live in has gone insane the last 3-4 months. So it makes sense to want to get $150 of my power generated from the sunlight in the sky. So that makes sense to me, and something I'm kind of interested in. I don't know. Let me know if you like solar. Let me know if you have it. Let me know if you sell it. But let me know what you think about the market. The solar stocks, guys, have been going crazy. Because I just added solar to my energy and solar list, and I think some solar names are like Sunrun, TAN, and these things have been going crazy. It's $10 move. That's from 67 to 77. Suncor, SU. Just so insane moves in the last 2 weeks. Um, Gas is the next one. It hasn't got the volume yet. Don't look at it yet. But it could be something here soon. It's IMPP is actually a spin-off of gas. And look at IMPP even up in the pre-market. Now come on, let's get that. Let's get it going. IMPP, let's get it going. Let's get it cracking. Let's get it cracking. And we'll see. Let me know if you guys got any price targets for IMPP. We'll see. Keep an eye on oil. Keep an eye on natural gas. Now, the other interesting thing too, and we'll tune up for a second. We'll tune up. Tune up. Tune up. Tune up. Tune in. Tune up and tune in. Tune in with yourself. Tune in with your environment. Tune in with anything going on around you. But most importantly, tune in with yourself. Tune in with yourself. Listen to your breath. Listen to your body. See what it needs right now. See if it needs a glass of water. See if it needs a stretch. See if it needs a breath. See if it needs a shower. Maybe you stink. Not a whole lot going on in the pre-market today. Got ESOA that popped up like crazy. I believe that's a oil and energy stock as well. But here's what we haven't had any headlines this week. So, think about some of the things that have moved the market in the last 2 weeks, and it's been headlines. It's been sanction headlines. It's been, really the sanctions, the oil, the, invasion. Like, I haven't seen anything about, I maybe just saw that Ukraine has destroyed a Russian ship, some shit like that. But, we really haven't seen anything, and that's so. We should get an update today. A, we haven't seen any new sanctions. B, we don't even really know and understand how the current sanctions are acting or are, having an effect. Because, and now we see that Russia announces that unfriendly countries will have to pay for their oil if they want it in rubles. And I believe the Russian stock market is even online trading today, but without the ability for retail to sell or short. So I don't know if you can call that an open and honest market. I would love to have a market that you can't sell or short. Just buy. Let's stocks go up. Buy. Hold. That'd be great, but doesn't seem like a realistic market, in all honesty. Let's go back. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing, guys. So Bitcoin just broke that 43 threshold. I don't know. I mean, when Bitcoin popped up this week, some of the miners and like some company like BKKT, I mean, they popped up like 20% on Tuesday or more. So, I mean, you guys can get, these 20% gains are out there in the market, guys. Even on an intraday level, I mean, you can trade, $1,000 and make $200. You can trade $4,000 and make $800. So, you can trade and make money in this market, but you got to stay tuned in. Got to stay ready. And you got to be smart. You got to have a idea. You got to have a goal. You got to have a game plan and execute. it's different when we're looking at 100 levels on AMD and under 100 on Square, and you're like, okay, maybe I can take a piece here, set up a nice little piece for the long-term account. And that's always my favorite style of investing, is taking companies that you really like and kind of dollar cost averaging in over time when that price gets to or below your certain levels. So chances are the year started with volatility. We may get some, obviously we're still going to be very volatile with the kind of global commodity price increase that we see and inflation fears. But if we start the year volatile, we're probably going to end the year volatile. And I would expect that we see some good buying levels again for a company like Square or a company like AMD. I actually really like the 114 level for AMD. I was talking to my cousin Drew, and I had even used the 114 level for AMD as a support level in the past. And it actually held up pretty well. I did end up having to cut bait before I got in at the near 100 level, but the 114 level could hold up. So I mean, if you did like AMD for the long term, um, maybe just put a little quarter position in here at 114. I don't listen to me. That's bad advice. You will lose money, but we know what we're buying here with AMD. So if you need a refresher on my thoughts on AMD, go back to some of the previous videos. I like these semiconductors, guys. These are some of my favorite stocks, but IMPP is gaining on me. BKKT is one of my favorite Bitcoin stocks, along with Hive or Bitfarms, Bitcoin miners. BKKT is a Bitcoin wallet software out of Alpharetta, Georgia, and they're okay. I've downloaded their app. It's okay. You can only buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can't buy Doge or, Hot Coin or whatever the newest crazy coin is, ApeCoin. That Bored Ape Yacht Club that's a wild little thing they got going on there. Wow. I mean, I don't know. So I mean, if you like NFTs, I would say go with some of the quality names that have really good groups like Bored Ape Yacht Club. Crazy, but it is what it is. Everything's kind of green pre-market here. I'm just seeing a lot of green. AMD green, SoFi green by 1%, Google green, Square green, Costco green, Tesla green, Apple green, SPY green. Even the oil stocks are green. So, I don't know. One of these is probably lying. Unless the futures go back to, so we did drop a little bit, so we're 121.66 there, and unless these futures really push back on these highs, I don't foresee the market going back up to that 450 level. And again, I don't like buying, especially if you're just looking for a short-term trade. I don't like buying a green pre-market because that just feels already elevated stock to me. And it would seem, now it may even bump up a little bit again if you got green in your portfolio in this market. With the volatility, it's not going to be a terrible decision to ring that cash register as long as you have green. So if you're looking short term, don't be afraid to ring the cash register and take profits. Don't be afraid. Like if I had AMC or GME right now, I'd be cashing out. They just had two of the two days of some of the craziest moves I've ever seen. And I mean, GME is, I bought this microphone from GME and they're doing decent stuff, but I mean, Best Buy's closing like 50 stores this year, guys. I mean, in store commerce is going away. There's really no other way to put it. Like GME, maybe they can survive through their online commerce. Maybe they can make an NFT marketplace. Maybe they can just meme stock their way to $500. But I doubt it. If I had got 50% moves in the last couple of days or more, I mean GME I think is maybe up close to 100% in just the past week. I would be looking to sell some of these guys. I mean, so we've gone from below 100 to 135. So I mean, you've had 40% move. Yeah, it's great. The CEO is buying shares, but realistically, how much higher is GME and AMC gonna go? So if you're listening and you hold AMC and GME, be careful. Don't be afraid to ring that cash register. Yeah, AMC movies are back. AMC has bought a couple other theaters, but it just scared me, guys. It just scared me. I love movies. I love AMC. I bought their stock and sold it. So I'm a fan. I also like winning green. Now, if I sell and it continues to go up, yeah, you get a little FOMO. You get a little fear that, hey, I missed out on this. But that fear isn't as bad if you've just had a gain, if you've just deposited some money in your portfolio. So I wouldn't be afraid to cash out on these guys. I don't know. I just bought this microphone from GME, but from GameStop. But I went in store to buy it. Wasn't nobody in there. There was two dudes in there. One guy was just sitting there, pretty much just looked like he was hanging, chatting with his buddy. How many people are really shopping in GameStop right now? I can buy all my games online, and I can buy most of everything from the internet. I just wanted a microphone right away, so I went and got it real quick. It was the one I wanted. So, I don't know. I mean, not a whole lot is popping up on this volume momentum scanner. IMPP. Y'all jump on the hill. It's crazy looking at the level 2 and seeing, I mean, just size on the bid. Size on the bid. Big size. And there was just this thing was just trading just like mad, like just its hair was on fire yesterday. It was crazy. Terribly, insanely fun to watch. And that's one area I struggle with stocks is I do get a little bit emotional. I am an instant gratification person, so I seek that dopamine hit. So I can't help it. My brain, something about my brain just wants that freaking dopamine hit. and it will sacrifice doing dumb shit like taxes and doing dumb paperwork shit just to go get a quick little dopamine rush. Either, that's why I have a problem with sweets. That's why I have a problem with ice cream, because something about that instant gratification just gives my brain a little dopamine hit. And, something about my brain just craves that little dopamine hit. It's just like, oh, let's get some ice cream. There's nothing going on right now. I'm bored. Give me some dopamine. And so when I make a trade and I get the dopamine hit, it's great. But when I make a trade and I don't get the dopamine hit, I have got to be able to move on quicker from that. And that's one thing I'm working on. That's one reason why I will always say, and anybody that I've listened to will say, make a game plan going into the trade. That way you don't get emotional. If it's either doing too good, you're like, you're on top of the world. This is, dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. And then you don't sell, or the other way where it doesn't go your way, and you don't chase it, you don't double down, you don't average in, you just kind of let it go. So that's why we preach health, is you'll always, as long as you remain in the game, you look at this long time frame to play. I can make a win on IMPP today, make sure to sell, realize profits when you can, because there'll be another IMPP, guys. There'll be another BKKT. There'll be another square intra-week move. So just don't lose money. Just don't lose money. And think about it as a long-term game. And play it that way. Whatever style you want. If you just want to be a long-term dollar cost averaging investor, if you want to day trade at work, if you want to, just day trade on your phone, whatever it is, I would advise you to just start a watch list. Start a watch list and update it. Update it based on what sectors are doing good. Pick sectors you like. Again, we are in a high inflation environment. So what is going to take a hit in a high inflation environment? Likely retail. Even Nike's doing okay, but I mean, how much Nike is Europe gonna buy if their gas is $7-8 a gallon? So there's gonna be a little less Nike buying, a little less Foot Locker shopping. So retail should take a hit, and oftentimes, your Walmarts and your Costco's, they can get clumped into that retail group, and just because another retail name is taking a hit, sometimes it can affect that broader retail sector industry. The same way as like when this week you see Apple doing well, it's going to lift your NASDAQ. It's going to lift the SPY, because Apple's the number one weight on the SPY and the NASDAQ. It's going to move those markets. And what happens when the SPY and the NASDAQ moves? Oftentimes, if you're a Square investor, you're watching the SPY, you're watching the NASDAQ. So you're like, oh, well, if Apple's dropping, SPY is dropping, maybe I should sell some of my Square. So all these things kind of intra-work together. Now they're all little. Every stock ticker is its own little microcosm, its own little environment. It's got its own little thing going on. Even if you're looking at like the SPY ETF, which is basically the NASDAQ ETF, it's its own little microcosm. It's Apple's its number one weighted. A lot of traders are watching it to get an idea of overall market direction, an indicator. People like investing in it too for long term. So you've got all types of things. If you've got a stock like, let me get Rig off of here. You got a stock like SQ where people love Jack Dorsey. and people like the idea that they have Cash App and Bitcoin. You've got a whole different psychology here where people, you may have more of an inclination for some of these investors to look 5, 10 years in the future because they see your big banks really scared of a square that is essentially going to make Visa and MasterCard useless, because you're just going to come up, you're going to pull up your little doggy bucks or your Bitcoin or whatever, boom, tap to pay on the square. Easy as that. MasterCard and Visa have raised their fees. I mean, fuck MasterCard and Visa. These old legacy systems, if they die, it's okay. And it's not going to affect, you're still going to have an Apple iPhone. So it's not going to affect Google. People are still going to use Google Cloud. People are still going to use Amazon Cloud. So I'm kind of for some of these central banks, some of these legacy systems kind of falling because they used to be the gatekeepers on technology. The technology, Bank of America, Bank of America probably got to where they were at because they had some of this technology in place before everybody else did. And so they were able to appear like they were head and tails over everybody else. And you could go online, do mobile banking, you could stop by their physical location to get your cash out that you needed to go to the store and buy groceries. You used to have to pay in checks at the grocery store. So all these legacy systems that used to be the gatekeepers of technology are now ancient dinosaurs that any young kid, any entrepreneur can come in, code up a digital payment app, and run Bitcoin through it, and we can pay our vendors, we can pay our local farmers. So this is a topic I'll talk a lot about, just because you're gonna see they're gonna try to merge these legacy systems with these new entrepreneurial systems, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be the entire year is going to be interesting. Nikola is popping up there, guys. Nikola is popping up there. Pre-market high with momentum. Nikola does. They're like the Tesla of the of the semi-truck industry. So they do autonomous electric tractors to pull transportation freight. I like Nikola. It's at 1088 right now. It's up about 19% already this morning. Up 18.7% with 2.1 million shares traded. So it's I don't know, maybe they had some news. NKLA. Maybe they had some news. Let's see. $10.99 right now, and they've just had a investor event. So sometimes you'll see when a company, especially if they got a really good product like Nikola has. Somebody bought it this morning, so somebody's buying them in huge quantities, huge shares. But you see that sometimes, and sometimes you'll see after these investor conferences, like Nvidia had their investor day, the stock was going up like crazy, doing great, and then they released a bunch of good news. Everybody's euphoric, stock is doing really well, and then people sell. So, sometimes investor conferences are good. Sometimes they're good for a short duration of time until people, because again, I think with everything going on, with the ability that, hey, we could go to sleep, wake up tomorrow to a fucking nuclear bomb at this point. Like, this shit's ridiculous. All these all these defense companies and these reporters that ask these guys like Jake Sullivan questions about nuclear warfare, chemical warfare. I mean, what's the point of that? Are they just trying to desensitize us so that when it actually happens we won't be surprised? Or is it the same is it the same as how we gave intel about the Russian invasion, for a month before it actually happened? Is it are we actually going to get a chemical weapon use? Are we actually going to get a fucking nuclear bomb use? But I don't know. I don't know. It's scary. It's scary. So again, we got Biden meeting with NATO leaders in Europe. I believe they're in Brussels today, and then they will continue to meet today and tomorrow. I believe they're also going to do a European Union's G7 summit. So these European leaders are gathering together. Is China a part of NATO? China is not a part of NATO. So whatever these European leaders are meeting about right now, it does not involve China. And that's interesting, because we don't even know how these current sanctions are taking into effect. We know China's not on board with the current sanctions. So kind of giving um, them an out to possibly do business in yuan, to possibly, I don't know. Again, we don't really know. The only thing that I do know for a fact is there is no movement from ships entering or exiting Ukrainian ports. So, Ukraine, big exporter in uranium, neon, wheat, fertilizer, even oil. There is no activity at these ports. And this is something you can go on the Bloomberg terminal, you can go on any, most shipping applications. You can see all the boats around the world. You can go out in the Charleston Harbor and you can see, you know, I think just heard from somebody that works here at the Charleston ports, and there's like 20 boats just sitting out there huddled at sea. And it's because the port's overrun, guys. There's I don't know if it's because the price of fuel has increased, so these truckers are running a little lighter. Where some of these independent guys like it ain't really worth it to go get $1,000 load if I'm going to pay $1,000 in fuel. And so that makes sense. I don't. Maybe it's the truckers in DC. I know there's uh, currently, you ain't heard about it in the news, but currently America is having its version of that kind of Canadian trucker protest, and it it makes sense. These these government Congress folk who maybe one or two of them have sat behind or been around in the life of a trucker. But these Congress and these presidents that made these laws back in '08 under Obama to get these guys off of paper logs, make them go to electronic logs. They even put in motion rules to make it tougher to get a CDL, so it's tougher to get your CDL license to become a driver now. And these were all Obama and even pre-existing him rules that these politicians who ain't never been behind the seat of a truck put in place. And it's just made the life of a trucker more difficult, more paperwork, more headache, less efficiency. And they're continuing on this path with, just making sure nothing's moving like crazy here. But they're continuing on this path with with the emission stuff. They're just making these trucks more expensive, having to add more parts to reduce emissions, and having to be emission conscious when you've got these port containers piling up at the port of Charleston because you've got insanely high fuel prices. You know, tires are expensive as fuck. Um, you got a freaking protest in DC going on to try to deregulate this industry when they're going into more regulation and making more rules. So it's only going to get tougher and tougher for these drivers to a become certified and to b maintain their truck and to keep it fueled, to keep it, you know, good tires on there, and so, you know, we'll see. We'll see. As of right now, you know, it's I go back and forth because I'm not really sure, you know, and nobody's sure. That's the thing, you know. Even the Fed chairman, they're, you know, I got an econ degree from ECU. They probably got, you know, masters in finance and econ from some of the best schools. So I mean, Professor Parker at ECU probably knows just as much or more than they do. And that's, I believe, Professor Parker. Shout out. It was either macro or micro econ, but we just read the Wall Street Journal, and we just talked about supply and demand. You know, we looked at different sectors and we looked at different markets, and we, you know, you kind of learn about what makes supply and demand. So it's all about supply and demand. And so I don't know. I go back and forth with maybe it's good that, you know, the Fed rate, you know, is raising interest rates a tiny bit to kind of maybe curb some demand, but at the same time, you have still difficulties in the supply chain. You still have a recovering supply chain essentially from COVID. You still have some difficulties in the supply chain, especially with rising fuel costs, you know, especially with rising commodity costs, and just a lack of ability to get parts and to get good labor right now is it's still difficult for the supply chain. So I don't know. You know, you definitely could still see empty shelves, you know, Xboxes and PlayStation. Some of these things still could be hard to get for the next year or so. Um, I was hoping some of this will be done by summer, but it's definitely looking like inflation is going to be here to stay this year, especially if this conflict in Eastern Europe and Russia continues. You know, and the next thing now, a lot of analysts are saying oil might go to 150, 200, $300 a barrel. Crazy predictions. But they're also predicting food shortages to become uh, more widespread. And that's because, you know, I don't know. I know Ukraine, you know, they export a lot of wheat, and, you know, so in their number one export place is Egypt. So, you know, places like Egypt and Africa could have a tougher time sourcing some of this wheat. But again, that's probably just going to have them, like, I think they've already ruled that they're no longer going to export their food products, their own wheat. So they're going to try to make more wheat and supplement it in other ways. But we'll see how it works out. It's going to be a long game. Um, just stay tuned in because this stuff could change every day. You know, I don't expect any type of ceasefire or peace talk until May. You know, maybe we get some developments in April, um, but we'll see. I mean, we don't even know we don't even know how these current sanctions are going to affect global trade and things like that. So, you know, we're still seeing how this is all playing out in the markets, and so keep an eye on the bonds. Keep an eye on Apple because Apple will move the market. Apple has been on an insane run, and if the people buying Apple in mass quantities also then start to turn around now and sell Apple, um, watch out because the market will come down. The market will move with Apple. Apple's the number one weight on the SPY and the Nasdaq, so it determines a lot of the direction. If Apple's doing bad, the market's doing bad. If Apple's doing well, the market tends to hold up. So Apple can really either hold or fall a market. So that's why I always watch it. See, it's top of the list there. Tesla's just fun to watch sometimes. I mean, Tesla's just fun to watch. That thing will freaking move up, move down, whatever it is, but it moves. Um, let's check the futures one last time, and I've got to get to selling some trucks. So 14,525. That's your NASDAQ future. This is your S&P future that people watch. I think the 4,400 level is key. So watch if... Now we did have a little sharp decline there, so careful. Again, watch the 4,400 level. Let's see if that holds. Brent crude, that's pretty high. Excuse me, NG, natural gas. So we'll see if we get any announcement on sanctions or news about. I mean, that's insane for natural gas. So IMPP, they transport oil and natural gas, which, especially with the lack of transport we've got coming out of Ukraine, and I know shipping costs have increased. So hopefully this company can continue to do well. I'm going to ride it for one more day. Took a little bit of profits after, a freaking 30-40% move yesterday. Take profits in this environment, but this is scary right here. This is rising energy costs, especially in Europe, especially in our country. So, just be careful in a high inflation environment. That's it. See you guys. I'll be here tomorrow. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm gonna have some cool surf reports coming this weekend. We'll be in Topsail Beach, North Carolina. So I'll likely be able to give you a surf report directly from the beach itself, which will be cool. So tune in for that. Tune in tomorrow morning. And I hope you guys have a great day. Tune in with yourselves, and you'll be able to handle anything that comes in your direction. You'll overcome it. Think of the message I was given yesterday that I really liked and sat well with me was about how we can oftentimes make the situation worse in our heads than it actually is. So think about that. Have you ever, for me, I've just been kind of stressed at work, and it's just been busy. It's, it takes a while to get your orders. So it's a lot of, putting out fires and just kind of managing expectations of some of these customers. And so it stressed me out a little bit. And I got that message and I realized that half of what was stressing me out was just made up in my head. And it really helped me just kind of take a breath, look back, like, it's not that bad. It's not that stressful. Like, in the long run, it's nothing. So use that information again with quantum theory. We know that your perspective on the event, on what's happening, makes all the difference in the outcome. And use that. Take something that you're viewing negatively and try to put it in a positive light. Or just know that, hey, if you are in a negative light on it, that it's okay. It's okay. God loves you. Jesus saved you. And as bad as this world gets, this isn't this isn't what we're promised. You're promised far greater. You deserve far greater, and you will get far greater. And see you guys tomorrow morning.